All right. Hello, guys. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time because it has been a while. It's been quite a while. And of course, make sure we're in focus. Going to give you a little conversation tonight, kind of see what's going on. There are a couple of things that I would love for us to kind of hit tonight. And so we'll take it how it comes, kind of look at who ends up jumping on. And I'm hoping that a friend of mine is able to also join us tonight as well. So we'll see how that one goes. But check out the title, guys. Check out the title. It's going to give you a really good idea as to what we will be talking about on tonight. So, hello. Be sure to speak so I can know that you guys can hear me. I'm trying to make sure my sound is good. I have been a little out of the game for, man, I think it's been like a week or two, y'all. It's been a minute. But y'all know I gotta be mama first. So I've had sick babies going on. And hello, Miss Ollie, how are you? We've been dealing with one kid getting sick at a time. I don't know. Kids don't get sick at the same time. But I wanted to come on tonight, just while I'm kind of prepping some candles that I poured quite a while ago, probably over a week ago, that have still not been prepped, y'all. This is what happens when you have to take breaks in between. But I wanted to make sure I was able to hop on tonight. And there are a couple of things that I would love for us to get to. I've been seeing all kind of stuff. I think y'all are just designed to blow my mind. That's what that is, just to make sure that I end up getting online. But the title of tonight's live, which I promise y'all I'm going to become more consistent with, is making sure that your business is actually a business. Hello, Miss Skurlock. How are you? I am back, girl. I am back. The sniffles, the sneezes, the kitty diseases, I don't know, y'all. My kids have been swapping strep throat. That's been the thing of the middle school over here, is swapping strep throat between each other. And FYI, if your kid goes to the doctor for strep throat, they're going to swab them for COVID as well. So we have just been swabbed down. But it's almost summertime. And we are coming to the part of the year where you got to kind of say to yourself, either I'm going to launch and make this happen, or I'm going to end up waiting. And I know for most of us, the fall seems like candle season. You know, we want to go in with the fall fragrances, the pumpkin spice and all that greatness. That's a big one. Oh, Miss Tyson, that is one of the questions we're going to get to tonight. How do I get people to buy my candle? All right. Now I'm going to tell y'all something that a lot of people will not admit. There are a lot of candle makers that I see on websites all the time. And some of us are doing amazing. We have wholesale accounts that are under contracts anywhere from 3, 6, 9 to 12 months at a time. So those are guaranteed candles that you know you make every month. I personally, currently, I do not have any wholesale accounts. I have had wholesale accounts before, pre-COVID. COVID hits, those small businesses will shut down. Now what a lot of people are trying to do is you're trying to actually drive traffic to your website. And that turns out to be a lot harder than you think. I've been getting questions back and forth. And if you've been messaging me, the one thing you will notice that I will always try to answer you back. That's going to be the most definite. But there are a lot of people that are trying to figure out, should I run more ads on Etsy? Should I run more ads on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok? They're trying to figure out what's going to be the best money maker for them. Where can I get the biggest bang for my buck? Well, here's the thing. It kind of depends on where you spend most of your time. I told you guys before, I listen to a lot of other candle makers, gurus who have been doing this much longer than myself. And I'm only 2 years in the game. And when I say fast and furious, if you have, number one, signed up to the Facebook group for BCJ Decor, y'all check that. I made the announcement there and on YouTube as well that I will be opening a second Well, another location is actually my 5th location in Houston or in a suburb outside of Houston. And the one thing I wanted to do was kind of blog the entire journey, because a lot of people are trying to figure out, how do I go from my kitchen to a retail space? So that's been another burning question. As I'm sitting here trying to think of how to drive traffic, I just talked kind of back and forth with the young lady via Messenger. And it's also her concern as well. If you're from a small town, you're from a rural area, you're not having pop-up shops, there are no farmers markets closer to you, you are really depending on word of mouth, number one. Family members is another one. And then at this point, if all of your family members have candles, all of your church members have candles, you've got to start pulling in customers who don't know you. And that's where it gets pretty creative. I'm going to ask you this. Do you know your niche? If I ask you right now to describe your perfect client, who is the customer that you actually see in your head when you are pouring a candle, that's where you're kind of going. For example, my regular 8-ounce jar. You know, I talk about my jelly jar all the time. My 8-ounce jelly jar is going to go into my new location. All right. But the other thing is, I'm also going to pour a luxury line. Remember, I told you the word luxury is dependent on what you make it. All of my luxury candles will have unique scents that I'm actually going to mix myself. My luxury line will include or rotate through having dessert candles as well. So the style of candle is different. The type of jar, the lid, the label is going to be different as well. And I'm thinking about either going, and y'all know I don't mind being transparent, either a navy blue or a rose gold kind of theme across the board when it comes to my luxury line. Because I'm trying to attract a certain customer that's going to give me twice as much for that luxury candle than they would for this jelly jar. Or the jelly jar itself is not going to fit into their aesthetic for their home. When I make a purchase, it depends on how in my big girl feelings I am. There are some days when I will drop $150 on one product and I don't think about it. But there are other days when literally I don't want to spend $20 because your packaging, your product has not touched me to say, hey, this is something that I can't live without. And that's what you're trying to establish for yourself. Yes, there are $100, $200, and $300 candles. And let me tell y'all something when you buy one, because I have friends that buy them all the time. They smell just like the stuff you pour. That buttercream that you were pouring from that same bottle that you charge $10, $15, $20 for, someone else puts it in a cuter jar with a really nice lid, and they're charging $100, $200 for. The question is, are you looking for one good customer or do you need 100 customers? That's where we are. Now, driving website traffic, guys, is a big one because you've got to stop and go to YouTube University and finally hit the learning curve. If you are 32 and above, if you are 35 and above, girl, I am 40. Let me tell y'all something. It is a learning curve. When you're trying to figure out what can allow my particular website, my brand to ping a little bit higher, how can I drive more people in? You should be posting to your personal Facebook page on a regular basis. I heard a guru say the other day, the one thing you want to do is master one social platform at a time. Some of you guys have Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and you are just tweeting your hearts out, posting your hearts out across the board. Here's something else she suggested. After picking one and making sure that you have mastered that one, Marketplace is not the only way to utilize Facebook. Y'all know, old folks, we use Facebook. That's our thing. When I'm on TikTok, I'm trying to laugh and keep swiping up. If I hit an ad, I'm going to be honest, I keep swiping up. Because when I go to TikTok personally, I'm not looking to purchase. It's kind of the same thing for Instagram. For me, Instagram is, oh, that's a nice picture. Oh, I really like that setup. And then I continue on. When I come to Facebook, it's a little bit different. It depends on what the post says to me. If you capture my attention, it will make me slow down. But guess what? We're all selling candles. Either that baby burns and you can't smell it through your phone. So this is where those, number one, the descriptors and the quality of your website will come in. Your website does not have to be the fanciest thing in the world. That's another misconception. Some of you guys are still in the stages of trying to decide which website is going to work better for you. Personally, I use Wicks because I use Square. And if you purchase a Square, you get a free Wicks online website that comes with it. Guys, I sat for hours trying to figure out how to take a decent product photo. If you go to my website right now, BCJ Decor, I promise you it's like, that's it? Yes. There are no sliding photos. There are no videos changing your world. There are no fade in, fade out, because guess what? I have a job. I don't have time to sit and make my website extra, extra fancy. Is it better than it used to be? The answer is yes. But it's also one of those areas where every couple of months I have to sit, stop, and boom, I'm going to make it happen. One of the first things on my agenda for the month of June is I'm going to go in and redo all of my product photos. It sounds like a pretty easy task when you stop to think of. If you have an 8-ounce jar, a 4-ounce jar, and a wax melt, not only do each of those product sizes need a separate photo, it will also be nice to have a group photo. Well, all right, 8-ounce, 4-ounce, wax melt, group photo, 4 pictures, I'm good. But how many of you guys are pouring 20, 30, or 40 fragrances? Guess what? I pour over 40. So we're looking at taking 160 to 200 different photos just to have the amount of content that I'm going to need to fill in that website. Right now, your website is going to drive your traffic. And how you market that website is also important. Here's something else that I noticed. I try to make a habit of when I am not at work, I try to wear my name on my clothing because it is something that people will pay attention to. It's something else that can become a conversation piece pretty quickly. It doesn't always come down to the free sample. It doesn't always come down to putting something extra in the box because most of the time, if you're trying to sell me something, I don't want it. It's when you're not trying to sell me something that I'm probably going to pay the most attention. Counterintuitive, I know, but think about it. Some of your best purchases, some of your larger purchases have actually come from a salesperson that wasn't pressuring you to buy something in particular. Here's another question. If I pour buttercream, my neighbor pours buttercream, and her neighbor pours buttercream, what's going to separate your product from the next product? Is it your packaging or is it your labeling? That's the other thing that you're looking at. I don't know. I'm talking to other people on the live right now. Look on the floor somewhere. He was in here. All right. So, now we got a rogue dog. Oh, here he is. Right there. Because he sits in the glitter.
Come here.
If you've ever had a dog covered in glitter, y'all know exactly what I mean.
They can't relate.
Come here. You don't want the children? If you've ever had a dog that don't like your kids, y'all, that's another sign right there probably too.
I don't want to get in the camera because I don't have no clothes.
Oh, so now we worry about not having no clothes on. Come here.
You are live. That's weird.
Come here. All right. Oh, y'all, this is Butters. This is the one that is running roguely away. Who doesn't always like the kids? I don't know. Butters, go forth and be merry. All right. So, when it comes to having to step back, here's something else. Sometimes you got to be careful about how many fragrances you're already pouring, because perhaps the fragrances that you are that you are pouring aren't currently what people are looking for. If we're going into summertime, you've got to be careful about heavier fragrances. Not everyone likes a sweet fragrance. Not everyone likes a fruity fragrance. I've seen some people that have fallen in love, so they have ordered, for example, vanilla. They may order vanilla buttercream. They're ordering vanilla tobacco. Guess what? You can order that one vanilla fragrance, order any other fragrance that hits a different note and mix them together. It will definitely keep you from overlapping your fragrance oil. This is also not the time to rush out and purchase a lot of testers. Your goal is not to have shelves of candles that are not moving. You actually want to take a moment to figure out what's selling and what's not. If you've gone from, for example, 100 candles or 50 candles the month before, or you've never been able to get to 20, 30, 40 candles, have you started looking at which candles are selling the most? Or are you still in a phase where you are giving those candles away? So you're creating a value for your product. Don't undersell yourself, because the lower you drop that price, the more you make people feel as though that product may not be worth it. Other things you can sell other than candles, that's a good question as well, because candles are not the only product. Once you break out and you have your wax melts and your tarts as well, you may want to stop and think about, do I want to change how the candle appears? So the aesthetic of the candle overall, which is how people get to the molded candle. You guys have probably seen the bust, the ones that have the body from the neck down to the upper hips. So a lot of people do those. Do you want to do decorative candles? So those that look really good but aren't really meant to be burned as well. Do you make room freshener, deodorizers? Do you make air fresheners, like your Poopery is a big one, because that one will sell as well. My aroma bead fresheners during the summer months are probably my hottest seller. There are actually months between, honestly, June and July where I will sell more aroma bead fresheners than anything else. That happens as well. All right. Beyond fresheners, I've seen people that this is how they end up getting into the lotions, the body bars and soaps. I am personally not a body kind of person, because if I don't have my insurance up, if someone has an allergic reaction, those are things that I'm always concerned about. And so for me, I try to stick to different products that can go within the home itself. If you have, for example, you may want to change your focus instead of changing your product. Think about that one for a second. Most of us are trying to sell candles that we're thinking about we're either going to living room or a bedroom or a bathroom. There are some ladies or gentlemen that also make the massage candles, where I can light the candle at the beginning of a session, and as it burns, take that wax, pour it onto my client, and use it to massage in. So that's something else. There are a lot of massage therapists that can tell you directly what fragrances they may prefer. So maybe that's a niche that you want to get into as well. Here's another thing. Have you thought about taking your candles and focusing them toward a different niche? So now that most states are starting to reopen, most of us are actually getting to the point where we can have farmers markets, we're out all together. All right, what about bachelorette parties? What about wedding parties in general? We know we have Mother's Day coming up, but have I already started working on my Father's Day baskets? Am I starting to take those candles and am I thinking about the first ladies at a church? Let me tell y'all something. First lady at a church know people, okay? Now, we've been in pandemic mode for a long time, y'all. Some of us have been cooped up. For a lot of us, the church doors haven't even reopened. We are still virtual. We're one of those. We don't even open until June. Guess what? One of the first people, the first group of people who will receive a gift basket from me upon my return will be the mothers and the deaconesses of the church. Think about that for a second. Now, I am all about loving people, and the Southern girl in me wants to be nice and right. But church ladies know everybody. The older, the better, especially the ones that wear the hats. So think about that. If you have a group in general, for example, I started making an entirely different product. So I started making tumblers. I was making tumblers just to see if I was able to do it. One of the first thing I did is I went out and I found a daycare center. And I said, hey, you got some workers that are working extremely hard. What I would love to do is to give them an appreciation gift. All I need to know is their first name, and I can give you a date when I can deliver. I delivered 11 custom tumblers. From those 11 custom tumblers, I ended up getting orders for over 20 additional tumblers. Think about that for a second. There are different ways. How many businesses are close to you? How many realtors have you reached out to? Realtors are a wonderful source because guess what? When you buy a new home, the first time you receive your keys, you put it into lock and you walk in, normally your realtor has left you a housewarming gift. So if I hook up with my local realtor, how about this? Would it be possible for me to make a few candles for you to use as housewarming gifts? If you know a builder in a neighborhood, I know here locally in Texas, we have an extremely hot home buying market. I've never seen lines outside of a home for viewing. It's one of those. So who else can you hook up with? Who has the clientele? If you know nurses, it's nothing like an impromptu appreciation day. If I am thinking about those people who are around groups of other people, that's the group that you're trying to hit. As you are driving around town, sometimes I'll put 2 or 3 4-ounce candles in the car, and guess what? I'm headed to go get a coffee. On my way to get a coffee, if I happen to stop at a convenience store to grab some gas, hey, I was passing by, wanted to drop this candle off to you. Whenever you guys have a little shelf space, hey, definitely let me know. It's one of those. There's nothing wrong with getting a yes or a no. The thing is, you want to be getting consistent answers and feedback all the time. So it's beyond just the people that you know. You're going to wear your family members out pretty quick because family's going to buy from you first. But once they have 1 or 2 of them, guess what? They don't need anymore. And some of you guys are pouring some pretty big candles. If you're giving out 16 and 20-ounce candles, for the average person, it's going to take them a while to burn their candle. So everybody isn't necessarily a super burner either. Someone tell me, what websites are we currently using? I know that Wicks is going to be a really popular one. Some people are going to Shopify. I know a lot of people are doing Etsy. I'll be honest, for me, I did not get very much traffic with Etsy. When it comes to Etsy, if I am selling my epoxy products, I do pretty well. So if it's a rolling tray, a ashtray, a cigarette lighter, or something like that, I can post those on Etsy and they'll do okay. But when it comes to candles, it's so broad at this point. I found it difficult to find a good niche in order, to sell more candles on Etsy. The other thing with Etsy that I have to be really careful about is I'm not very sure of what happens when it comes to the fees. For example, and I've told you guys this before, I have an ashtray that I customize for $10. By the time I sell it on Etsy, the same ashtray costs $22. Y'all, that's a lot for an ashtray. So it's something you have to be very careful of. If you have a square will automatically come with a Wicks site. And you can do online e-commerce for there. If you do not currently have a website, I'm going to tell you that's going to be the next step in your business decisions. Most businesses will be crippled without a website. Even if it's so far as to when people contact you, you first go in and create that Google page, like a one-pager that you can send out to a person just to let them know who you are, how your company is run, why you're pouring candles, and what you offer. So it's something else to think about. When I am giving out candles, honestly, I normally don't give anything over a 4-ounce candle. There's actually, if you look at your candle supplier, you can buy a 2-ounce candle jar as well. So I have some smaller 4 ounces. You know how sometimes you buy jars because you think you'll love them, and then for some reason you don't love them, and so you're stuck with them. I've got a few of those. Those are the jars I will go back and pour and give them away as samples. And what I'm really trying to do is to match your scent profile. Even when I'm at a farmer's market, one of the first things you'll notice is when people walk over, it's always like, hey, how are you guys? So tell me, are you a sweet kind of person or savory? Because I'm trying to figure out your palate. It's the difference between loving something like Merlot and loving a candle that's like tobacco vanilla. It's going to give you more of a warm feeling. If they end up picking tobacco vanilla, for example, then I will also offer them, and these are my 2-ounce samples. If I know they have a wax melter, I will offer them a 2-ounce sample of mahogany teakwood because it's in that same family as well. The other thing is, if it's more of I love sweet scents, this is when you're going to lead them to the watermelon lemonade, strawberry creams, your Japanese cherry blossoms. You're trying to expand their range within their same scent profile. So it's something else for you to kind of think of as well. Here's another one. Like all businesses, you're going to have slow seasons. The month of May, I tell people all the time, how many of you guys have taken your candle and place congratulations graduate on it? Guys, it's graduation season. So we forget about that one, and that's a huge one. If you're willing to personalize your candle, I've even seen people that take tissue paper, they will print the picture on the tissue paper, apply it over a pillar candle. You're going to use your heat gun and you're done. It's a decorative candle. It's not meant to be burned, but it can be. And what you'll notice is if you can personalize that candle, people will buy it because their baby is graduating. It says class of 2021 and they're all excited. If you put on their mother of the graduate and then you take a more masculine scent and put father of the graduate, you take these two and you put them into a box with either a wax warmer and 3 other wax melts, fragrances, guess what? We can box those all together as well. Now, sometimes you fall into the point where you do not have support, which is where that website comes in. Being able to share beyond your scope. Do I have family orders? The answer is yes. They probably make up less than 5% of what I sell at this point. 5%. So not having that instant support is one thing, but let me tell you what it does allow you to do. You become a master seller. You become someone who can tell me exactly why your product is great. So if you're in a small town, you're not getting support, do me a favor. Number one, post your website in the comments. When you guys are in the candle group and you're going back and forth with each other, it's like, hey, do me a favor. I was glad I could answer your question. Do you mind looking at my website and giving me some feedback? It's one of those. Sometimes you imagine you're only talking to yourself. And sometimes you'd be impressed by how many people are actually out there listening. There are some people that notice, if I'm going into the job and we're face to face at this point, when's the last time you came in and said, hey, ladies, you've been doing a great job in the front office, want to bring you appreciation gift, and you break out and hand everybody a 4-ounce candle. Think about it. There may be 5 people in that office that cost you less than $10, $11 in product. If you get 2 orders, you've not only paid for those samples, but you may actually bring in a client that's long term. Co-workers have jobs too, because guess what? Y'all all work together. And make sure you're giving your samples right before payday. It's on purpose, y'all. You got to be creative with it. I'm a teacher. We get paid once a month. So if I know I am going out there and going for it, you got to make it happen. Now, let's go. Pricing. Now, I had my 8-ounce candles at $10 before. I'm going to be honest, girl. I actually had my 8-ounce candles once upon a time at $8. And it was Stanley Handcrafted that told me flat out, no ma'am, I'm going to need you to bump that up. And I did. I really did. Because at that point, it was no way. My 8-ounce candles now sell on my website for $12. Retail-wise, they're anywhere from $12 to $15. If I go into a retail space, honestly, it depends on what side of town I'm on. If my rent is higher, my candle price is higher. My 4-ounce and my wax melts are now $6 because my wax melts are still in a standard size clamshell. All right. So I've noticed some people do the bars, which are really, really creative. And I've actually seen someone with the bar size, and they have the cutest craft boxes that go along with it as well. But I wanted to keep my packaging really simple until I decided on what I truly wanted to do. Now, when I prepare to pour wax melts for my luxury line, I'm going to pour them as bars, so they will be longer. I want there to be a very distinct difference between my everyday collection and my special occasion collection. Notice how that sounded. My everyday collection. These are everyday candles compared to that other one that is an experience. It's how you're saying it and how you're wording it as well. It's not price. When you go to Bath and Body, when you go to a lot of candle stores, y'all, I used to go to Albertsons and spend $30 on a candle. That candle was 16 ounces of greatness. I remember Albertsons used to carry a 12-ounce candle that was $25.99. I bought that candle every other week until they discontinued it. It was amazing because I bought it for the hot throw. I didn't buy it for anything else. And the fact that it was $25, $30, honestly, I paid $50 for a candle before. I paid $50 for an 8-ounce candle before. I know. I know. But it happens. And guess what? Once, it was actually a great experience. The other time, not so much. All right. Here's something else. In the month of May, unless you are catering to those special events, we're going into wedding seasons. Wedding season is the hookup. Find you an event planner. Event planners have been out of work for a minute. And most of you guys know, if you plan weddings, birthday parties, anniversaries, I can tell you someone else you may want to go and find. How many of us know a travel agent? Travel agents are your friend. How many of us know an independently owned hotel or motel? Because you'd be amazed, they carry a scent in the background. If not, most of them need to. So if I walk in and smell nothing, it's like, oh man, as nice as this hotel is, I really expected something to be flowing through the air. Why don't you try this and let me know what you think? It's all about where you are. Here's another question. What's stopping you from going to retail? Retail is not going to be your end all, win all kind of moment. But for a lot of us, I've learned a lot by being able to see my product on the shelf and being able to also watch how other clients who never get a chance to interact with me are able to interact with my product itself. It's been kind of different. I will actually go in and redo my entire space, walk away for a couple of minutes and come back. And if I see someone shopping, I will actually walk to the side and act like I'm shopping too, because my goal is kind of to get some kind of feedback. And I've had people tell me all kind of stuff because they don't know that that's your booth and your product in this retail space. It's one of those. Don't shy away from taking this time when your orders seem a little bit slow to improve something or to extend yourself. So when we talk about extending ourselves, I could be content with having 1 or 2 retail spaces, but at this point, I'm ready to grow. And I know that I can offer more products. As you're going in, some people have started making wickless candles. If you're thinking about those individuals that may live in a senior home, for example, where open flames are not encouraged, they can take that wax melter, place that nice little metal tin can of wax on top. It's going to melt and give off an amazing aroma. And that way it's already contained. I see a lot of people do that niche as well. I see some people who are now getting to the point where they're going to make candles specifically for events or moments in time. So it's all about what you can do to extend yourself beyond. Are you talking to 5 people today that you didn't talk to yesterday? If you aren't meeting new people, it's going to be really difficult for your product to meet new people too, because it means you have something great that you're actually keeping a secret. And that's something you don't want to do. I do have friends that work on websites, and I have a young lady I was talking to just before going live who actually does websites as well. There are a lot of people within the candle group that are actually in other professions. And what you're trying to figure out for yourself is, how can we use the skills of each person in this group to make us better? I know for me, I loathe doing my website. But I also have a friend that I can call and say, look, this is something I need to learn for myself. But I'm also stuck at this point, and I know that I need help. All right? So here's something else. Have you stopped to look and to reevaluate your product? There are some people that have actually said they're not selling. And when they send you a picture of the product, it's, well, what feeling do you get when you look at your product? What feeling do you get when you actually look at your label itself? I keep my labels clear and nice. I think on my luxury brand, I'm probably going to do like a craft or either a navy blue with gold trim type of label, because that's when something that's really, really been sticking to my mind. But what I'm trying to figure out, and what some of you guys need to go back and look at, how clean is your product? How clean and crisp are the pictures on your website? Do they convey what you want them to? It also ties itself down to the descriptions you're giving as well. It's nice to give away a Mother's Day basket. Mother's Day basket. Because I can advertise it on Facebook Marketplace. I can advertise it on my personal page. But I can also go to other groups that I'm in and advertise as well. You'd be amazed at how many candle makers actually buy candles from other people. I promise y'all we do. All the time. Especially when I see a vessel that I really love or a fragrance that I've never thought about pouring. I'm going to try yours before I go and spend my own money to try to pour my own. It's one of those. All right. Now, here's another reason, because actually the whole entire purpose of this particular video was making sure that your business was your own. Are you pouring what you like based on the type of customer that you chose to identify? Or are you simply waiting to pour what other people should enjoy? That's a big one. So you are more than welcome to message me, Ms. Tyson. I would love, love, love to. I'm always about feedback, and I'm always willing to take some as well. So feel free at any time. I want to make sure that you're clear. Guys, at the end of the day, this is your business. It's yours. There are some months that will be great. There are other months that are slow. My slowest months are normally January is a slow month. February is a good one because we have Valentine's Day. March, I do pretty well because during spring break, people want to get out, and I know that time of year in my area. April does okay. May is only held up because of Mother's Day, and then at the end of May, it kind of dies down unless I find a special niche, which is where I came up with the graduation candle from. The other thing that I will also notice is June, July, and August. Oh, baby, we are smoking. We are doing it. Those sales will ramp up, and they're great. But all of my sales are also not from my website either. My website is something that I will talk about pretty often. It's also something during the summer months. If you ever see me in a pop-up shop, it's going to be across my shirts. I am advertising. It's also something that I'm going to be handing out those business cards. And they even make the ones now you can just scan on the phone and hand them back. You only need one card. How often are you talking about your business, and how often are you talking about your business to someone who you don't know? So when you're meeting new people and they say, hey, what do you do? I will tell them right off, now you know I'm a teacher. You know, you can feel it in my spirit. But I also run a small business where I pour hand-poured candles as well as custom tumblers. I'm going to throw in what I do on a regular basis. People are going to see me use my product. I know at work, I can't burn a candle. It's one of those. At work, I don't even think we're supposed to have a warmer. So there are moments when I would pour or triple scent a candle and just leave it open on my desk, because I knew what periods administrators would come and see me. When it's time to do teacher appreciation gifts, this is Teacher Appreciation Week. We have Administrator Appreciation Week. Guess what? I break those out as well. All major holidays, we're there as well. When we're going into the fall, I'm always trying to jump on those trends. Here's another question. There are a lot of dance groups. There are a lot of football teams at this point in the year that are thinking about getting started. They're ramping up all of your fall sports. Volleyball is another one, depending on which soccer league they play for. How many of you guys do fundraisers? How many of you guys offer fundraisers? How many of you have sat down to figure out if you could put together a packet for a fundraiser to make it lucrative? Every elementary school sells popcorn. You want to know why they sell popcorn? Because popcorn is easy to transport. And popcorn gives a really good profit. I would know because I've sponsored groups. There are some fundraisers that we do where we're only getting 20 or 30% of the profit back. But guess what? You have sports teams, you have choir, you have all of these other people. How many of you guys have taken a moment to contact your school district to get on the vendors list? I know, I just hit you with something else, huh? Now, when you think about it, school districts can only purchase from those individuals that have been placed on their list. There are some large districts that have a very laid out program and you must be approved for this and this. Guys, I've got a couple of school districts. The email I sent them was enough for my name and my company to be placed on their vendor list, which means when they buy the superintendent appreciation gift, they can go down the list and you're there. If you're the person that's stopping by once in the spring, once in the fall to drop off a little something, drop it out to the secretary. Drop it out to the custodian, because those are the people that know everybody in the building. Fundraisers, don't sleep on them. Small groups, don't sleep on them. Pee-wee leagues, don't sleep on them. Grandma will buy a candle, especially when she knows that 40% of the profit from that candle is going to support her baby going to championships in Florida, because that's what they're doing it for. So, especially if you have a young one, think about it, because all of that is coming back. By August, I promise you, when we return to school, guys, it's going to be a free-for-all. We're trying to get back to as normal as we can. But it takes time to put those handouts together. It takes time to reach out to principals, assistant principals, and finance departments to figure out, hey, can I offer a product that's a little bit different from the norm? A lot of people are tired of gift wrap, popcorn, and cookies. I am. So when I have a kid come to me and they're like, hey, would you mind purchasing it? Yes. Do you realize how many fundraiser products I buy every year that I don't need? A whole lot. But some of them I get are actually pretty good. You've got to think about what is in your area and what can possibly benefit not only your customer, but also your business the most. Here's something else. If things are starting to slow down, I now have time to think about what will it take for me to possibly reduce my cost. Your production costs are always in the back of your mind. And it's something that I always want you kind of looking at. I don't want to change the quality of my product, but I do want to change, number one, the amount of time it's taken to produce it. I want to be efficient, but I also want to stop and kind of think about it for a second. Am I getting out exactly what I'm putting in? And it can feel that way. What you can't do is stop, though. So you don't have to keep pouring. You've got to figure out how to move the product in front of you. What areas have you not touched? Because there are homes throughout your neighborhood. How many of you guys have gone to an HOA meeting? And when they welcome the new homeowners to your area, if you're in one of those developing neighborhoods, is your candle in that bag? Because when I move, I got a bag, y'all. And the first thing I thought of is, this would even be better with a 4-ounce candle in it. There are over 40 people who were recently welcomed to the neighborhood. And guess what? I want a candle placed in every last bag. I'm not giving you 40 because give means free. And those products were not free. But what I did figure out is the HOA has a product budget. And they can budget how much they spend for goodies that are placed in that welcome kit. Every welcome kit in this area. So guess what? I want to be a member of that welcome kit. So when I talk about making sure your business is your business, making sure your business is extremely legit, those are the things I'm kind of hinting to, because those are the things that are going to be most important for you. Here's another one. How confident are you about your product? I want y'all to think about that for a second. Some people may offer you a product, and I'll be honest, I've had moments when I am so nervous for the person that's talking about their product that I will probably buy it just because they're so nervous about it. And I mean, these are products that look amazing. But how many of you guys are confident enough to actually step up in front of someone who you absolutely don't know and toot your own horn and talk about your product? Because that's what an entrepreneur does. I don't have to spend my conversation talking about how my candle is better than the one in Walmart. It's not important. But what I do want to mention is this is a hand-scented, hand-poured candle. And I'm talking about not something I'm going to walk by and smell. I'm not talking about something that's going to run you out of the room with fragrance, but I want something that lingers. I want fragrances that help create memories. It's a difference in how you say it and how you portray it. How much time do you spend in getting to know your product? I've seen more conversations about smooth tops and worrying about frosting of products than I have about marketing. I have seen more comments about how do I reply to this customer. Here's something else you got to ask yourself. What does your customer service look like? If I have an indecisive client, am I patient or do I just push them to the side and move forward? If I have a product that someone says is defective, how do I handle that situation? What happens when you end up with a client that wants to return 2, 3, or 4 different products. So I have that repeat kind of person going on. How do you handle when a client gets a candle and it's burning? They send you a video and you have a huge flame, but you know that you've tested that product and it never did that for you. What do you say? And how do you say it? If you're getting customers but not getting repeat customers, that's where you should start your wonderings. Repeat customers build a business. At the end of the day, trying to collect new customers over and over and over again is exhausting. I overpay at Starbucks at least 2 days a week because Starbucks in my area has good customer service. Do they have the best coffee? Probably not. But for me, it's about the service. I go to Chick-fil-A. To be honest, if you stay in a town with Chick-fil-A, you will start probably tired of eating Chick-fil-A. But Chick-fil-A has good customer service. I don't go to Burger King because Burger King, number one, you're just one person working. Bless their little hearts. They are taking the orders, doing the food, trying to answer the drive-through. It's too much. The customer service isn't good. I'm not even going to say the food is horrible because it's usually not. But customer service is huge. It allows you that moment to show who you are. And it also allows you the moment to tell people what your product is. How well or how much of your process do you explain? Some of us talk a little too much, y'all. I've seen people doing a transaction that will talk a customer straight out the door because you've given too much information. I want to know about the scent. I want to know that you hand poured it, but I don't have to know every single step that is taking place during the process. That's a big one. There are a few of you that are rushing to market, and even in a retail setting, even in a pop-up shop setting, if you look at your product, does it look finished? That's the other difference. I've seen comments where I went to a local shop. I was set up for a vendor fair. The person next to me was also selling candles. And for some reason, they were selling the entire day, but I wasn't. All right. Let's start with the Captain Obvious ones. What about the aesthetics? What about you? Because I go to a lot of vendor shops, and guess what? The maker is on their phone. A lot. You're not making eye contact. I don't have to speak to every person that walks by, but I can give a nice, friendly, southern smile and nod. It's one of those. I'm going to acknowledge that you were there. I don't have to chase people down who are asking me questions either. Because sometimes your client just doesn't know. You will run into people who are fishing for information. Might as well get prepared. If you have not been approached by that person who's on the low, a candle maker or looking to become one, and they're asking you a million questions, and eventually you start saying to yourself, are they going to make a purchase or keep talking to me? Sometimes that's what they're trying to do. They're only there to gather information. So you want to be careful. And in order to read a client or a customer or potential customer, you've got to be paying attention. All right. So keep that one in mind as well. So this time of year can get a little slow. June will probably work a little bit better for you. And if you're wondering, what I'm doing right now is just kind of clipping my wicks. And some of these will go out. Some of these I'm testing. I'm going to be honest, y'all. Most of my testers, they are a bit more centered than none in the world. Because what I'm trying to figure out is, will they burn, how long they burn, and making sure they stay lit. I've actually had a couple of wicks because I've been ordering from different companies just to kind of get a feel for it. Some of the wicks are not staying lit. And there's nothing that's changed about my jar diameter, my type of wax, or my percentage of fragrance oil. But what I'm noticing is a lot of people are either getting curling of their wick, which that's not a good thing either. So if you take a look, if your wick, for example, is starting to curl, so when it burns, it keeps curling and curling and curling, you got to stop. Because either you are not trimming the wick to the length that it needs to be before it actually starts to burn. Or you may want to be careful about the temperature. Because sometimes when it gets extremely hot, that wax is going to burn off really quickly, which is going to cause that curling motion to take place. And what's ended up happening is it curls so much, it dips back into the wax and it just extinguishes out. There are a couple of ways for you to fix this. If you've experienced this before and you're nervous that a client might run into this, if you are shipping that order out and if you have wood wicks on hand, I'm going to encourage you to include one wood wick with your order. If I ever get a client that says, hey, for some reason, my wick keeps going out, I keep relighting it, in a couple of minutes it's going out, I'll ask them, hey, go back and pull out that wooden little piece that was in the box, cut it in half and insert that into your candle after you burned it so that wax is already cooled down. That allows them to go directly next to the wick itself. They're going to just slide that wooden wick in and it will create enough burn to get your candle going. I hadn't thought about that one for a while, so I was running into the wick issue and I saw a lot of other people were looking at that as well. And HTP do curl quite a bit. And I'm wondering if it's the coating. I was also wondering if the coating has changed over time, because I've noticed some of my tried and true brands are actually the same way. And I've never had that problem before. So I found that one to be quite odd. But make sure that you are burning. These are actually CD8 wicks. These are the 8-ounce jelly jar. So I think the tops are roughly maybe 2.5, almost 3 inches. So probably more like 2.5. I use mostly CD8s. I have tried other wicks, kind of half and half, but I'm going to be playing around with a couple. So if you keep up with the vlog, you'll notice, because on my luxury line, I do want to use wooden wicks. For some reason, clients associate wooden wicks with luxury. Don't know what it is, but that's the other thing I want to play with. I've had success with wood wicks and I've had some not so great moments with wood wicks as well. So that is going to happen. The other thing is a lot of people started buying their wicks in bulk. Be careful when you buy the entire roll of wick, especially the double twine ones, because they may not already come pre-waxed. So you're having to actually take the wick, dip it in wax, and then allow it to cool and dry. You can get really good pricing on the double wick, so it kind of depends on where you are and how far away you are from a distributor. Now, here's another announcement that I wanted to throw out there. I have been searching and searching for a candle convention. I just want a candle maker convention. And honestly, I didn't find one. I've kind of looked all over where I can, fly in, drive in, and meet a bunch of distributors, maybe learn something new, maybe learn a tip or two on business making, and nothing. So guess what? When I don't find what I'm looking for, I create it myself. That's what we do. So if you are in the Texas area, if you are in the Dallas, Fort Worth area in general, everybody else who is not too far, a car ride or a nice little short airline ride, skip, jump over, guess what? I'm putting together a candle makers conference because I think we can get together, y'all. When I started making tumblers, there are glitter conferences and I want to go. I want to go buy glitter and just lose my mind. But I also want to be able to walk into a candle makers conference and see 3, 4, 5 large distributors there. I want to have to FedEx a box back to my house because I'm so excited that I've been able to find new products. I want to be able to walk in and purchase wicks and fragrances I've never heard of. I want to be able to go in and ask questions about how do I file my taxes? Do I have the correct insurance? I want to have all of that. I want to go in and hear the good, the bad, the ugly about people's candle journey. And that's what I've been looking for as well. So stay tuned. We're looking at November 6th and 7th for a candle makers conference here in the good old little Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth area. So I will definitely keep you guys posted as well. I use the same wick for all of my scents, all of them. So no matter if it's watermelon lemonade, mahogany teakwood, this is Merlot, I have tobacco vanilla. I use the same size wick, the same type wick for everything. The only time I actually even thought about changing wicks is when we hit a wick shortage. Here's the other thing. I see a lot of people that get really hooked on fancy jars. And I mean, oh, some of y'all packaging, I'm still amazed. It's beautiful. But what do you do when that jar isn't available? Or you're able to find the perfect jar, but the jar doesn't come with a lid. And that's the other thing. There are some people that will sell dusters because, hey, I can just put my little paper back on top and I'm good. The average customer is going to take that duster off and they throw it away. So that's the other thing. These are actually a 5800 pear soy blend. I use soy candles in my wedding series. I use them for customer requests. So for example, I have some clients that only burn soy and they know if you use anything else. So I will use 464 for them. When it comes to 464, even if I use the same jar, and my Candle Academy students can tell you, number one, this is a CD8 for this one. You need to wick up. So you're either hitting a CD10 or a 12. I usually end up using a CD12 because soy is going to take a little bit more oomph to get it going. The other thing is, oh girl, that wedding series. Do not let me forget Miss Michaela, because that wedding series is gangster girl. The other thing is, if you're doing soy, you want to be careful at what temperature you're pouring. Pear soy is much more forgiving. Much more forgiving. The other thing, though, paraffin wax is going to have a hot throw like no other. Pear soy has a hot throw that you don't have to be just 200 degrees, 180, 175. I found that when it comes to soy, I've got to be careful. I am a lazy pourer. I will walk off when the kid says something, y'all. And that temperature may go from like a 10 to 20 degree difference. I'm outside of my range and then boom. You will hear me say quite often when soy candles burn, they look like butt munch. They do. It just looks like, I don't know what that is. But they just look crumbly and I hate that. So I only pour soy by special request. And let me go back to this wedding series. We have a lot of ladies. Brides spend money. All right. Y'all, I'm a hood event planner. So if your budget is small, but you still want to be bougie with it and you want somebody to go the extra mile, I got you. I got you. So I have some brides that will request that you create them a handcrafted set. And they want it in a decorated jar with their initials on the front and the date of their wedding. That's what that Cricut is for, boo. New product. I will pour the candle to match their wedding colors. That just became the wedding series. The wedding series is also $5 to $7 more per candle than regular candles. I also encourage them to buy them for both the bridal part, the entire bridal part. So bridesmaids, groomsmen, everybody is going to the candle, including the parents of the bride. Now, if I have a high-class party where we're just going the extra mile, anniversary parties are another one. Anniversary parties, if you want to put Sheila shaking it at 55, or we've been together and put the little ring on there for 40 years, people like personalized items. And yes, you're going to charge for that personalized item. So weddings, birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, anything that you want to capture the moment will be a good one. CDN wicks. I have actually, I have some candles, y'all. I actually have a couple of candles that I had poured previously. And I was trying the CDN wicks. CDN wicks are supposed to be good for soy. Now, one thing I have seen, does it make a difference in my hot throw? The answer is yes. I've definitely seen a difference in the hot throw itself. Usually when it comes to CDN wicks, I will wick up a size. So even for my 8-ounce jar, I will normally go to a CDN 10 because for some reason, it just does not give me the same throw. I have also wicked some jars by mistake with a CDN instead of a CD8. So I had to get really particular, and you will notice that sometimes I actually put them in different colored bags as well. I've added a little coconut to my soy. When you start adding paraffin to your soy, if you don't necessarily want to do a true Parasoy blend, be careful. Because most soy pours, they have a certain niche. They have a certain client that's a little bit different than what you would have for a Parasoy person. Most of my Parasoy clients like hot throw. That's all they're worried about is, can I smell it? How strong is it? And boom. That's what they're looking for. If I have a soy client, my soy clients are usually more earth conscious. They're more conscious about what they're putting into their bodies and their homes. So for them, if it's not coconut, which does kind of help with hot throw a bit, if it's not the V-bar, I won't add it. So anything beyond that, I will not add to soy. Sometimes you will also have to go back and be very clear with your client. So I've had clients that were 100% soy preferred. I will take them 2 candles. One that is 100% soy, 464, and the other one that's a Parasoy blend. And I let them smell and burn the difference. I've had quite a few of them switch over to the Parasoy. So just be careful in how you market that. That headache that comes from that hot throw. When it gets to the point where the fragrance oil is too much and it still doesn't give you a good hot throw, there are a couple of fragrances, honestly, I can't be in the room with. For example, the longer I sit here, the stuffier I get. But I love Love Spell. Love Spell is actually one of my favorite fragrances. The older I get, I've noticed this. Number one, I have to burn it in a larger room. So it has to be in my living room, dining room, kitchen combo area. If it's in my bedroom, I will clog up and sneeze half of the night. So it's one of those where I can't be in the room with it, but I do enjoy the smell of it. But if you're getting a headache, you want to be mindful of that, because if it's bothering you, it will likely bother your client as well. I do talk to the bride about their custom order. I lay out my prices all the same. When they say custom, custom is the assumption that it costs more. So when you're talking to a bride and they want for example, my most recent one, she wanted her entire bridal party to have 12-ounce jars. Their color was like a rose gold. So I made the candles rose gold. And she wanted a rose petal scent, but not pure rose. So I did a mixture of rose vanilla with a little drop of buttercream. And what it gives you is this very faint floral scent, because I am not a floral kind of girl. But it reminded me of the different flowers that she was including in her bouquet. And I wanted you to walk past that candle and think about that date. I also put their initials and the day they were getting married on each candle. And she ordered enough for her bridal party, all of her groomsmen, their plus ones, the pastor, and the parents of both the bride and the groom side. So how you do your pricing is you. Walmart does not walk around and tell you that that product is $2, that they're charging you $19.95 for. So you don't have to share all that either. What I did make clear is this is a custom order. Custom orders have to be paid for in advance. Do not pour custom scents without getting your money. So I would bring in the fragrance. I allowed her to smell a couple of versions of it. I made like a total of 3 different candles. She picked the one she liked, and that's the one that I ended up pouring. For them, I think a case of 24 candles. My normal candle price is right at $12. I think for each one, I did $19. And then for the bride herself, I include the bride's candle for free. All they heard was the bride's candle is free. And that was a good moment right there. Pillar candles are another one. If you are a pillar candle maker, if you are doing weddings, Memorial Day services, if you're doing memory candles are another one. You see a lot of young people that will get the lanterns and they're putting candles on the inside of those. It's another way for you to have that connection as well. Any advice on pop-up events? Pick them carefully. So when I do pop-up events, which this is something that we talk about in a session as well. Number one, you want to make sure you pick an event that actually goes with the product you're selling. So no, I don't set up at football games. It's not my thing, y'all. If you see me set up at a football game, we are the concession stand in that thing. Because yes, we do concession stands too. But my most recent pop-up shop was a wine and chocolate event. And it was one of those, which I take that back. My most recent one was actually a farmer's market. I have a reoccurring once a month farmer's market, and it's an artisan fair. So there's everything from painted goods to foods to candles, wooden pencils, any kind of woodworking period, basket weaving. It's a little bit of everything. And what I love about it is the location and the crowd. It has a very laid back vibe, but it also encourages people to slow down, sip their beer or their wine, and simply shop. It's also a night market, which is something I haven't done until recently, is a night market, because that allowed me to purchase lights and go the extra mile. If you can hook up with a farmer's market, the good thing about doing it once a month is after you've done it 1, 2, maybe 3 times, number one, you start to notice what customers are there every week. They also start to know you. The other thing you start to notice is you're able to solidify your spot. So for me, I was in booth 35. I went ahead and paid for the next market, and I requested to be back at spot 35 because I want people to remember, hey, there used to be a candle girl around the corner. So I wonder if she's there this time. You want to stay in the same location as well. Smalls, if you are looking for classes, you can go to bcjdecor.com and you'll be able to find those. And I'll include that in the comments section as well. So classes actually opened on the 3rd or 4th. I'm going to leave those open until next Friday and then run that second class. And once I do the second class, there'll be a 3rd series. And then after that, we'll be prepping for the convention itself. And there will be classes offered at the convention as well. However, blended soy and paraffin wax myself. Yes, ma'am. I have blended everything from, honestly, I blended feather palm wax, y'all, with some paraffin because I wanted to see what it would look like. Feather palm wax, if you are anti-frosting, please beware because you're going to get some marbling you have never seen before. So that's going to be another one. When you're doing your weights, think about it. Most companies, most suppliers do a 70-30 blend. And there's a reason why they keep it at that ratio. 30% soy to 70% paraffin is just enough for you to play with the melting point. So you still get those smooth tops, but you're also able to turn around and, you're also able to turn around and get the hot throw that you're looking for. So make sure you're doing it by weight. So for example, if I want to do, let's say 1 pound of wax and I want to go ahead and make it a special blend, then I would do 1 pound of wax is 16 ounces. I may choose to do 8 ounces as my paraffin and then do the additional 8 because that'll be a 50-50 mix of soy. If that 50-50 doesn't give you what you want, then you could do 12 ounces as paraffin and then 4 ounces of soy. So I encourage you to blend what you have. If you purchase a wax that you thought you were going to love and you did not love, don't throw that wax away. Remember, we said one of the best things to do is to turn into a wax melt and to turn these into samples. If you have those $1 tea lights from the Dollar Tree, is another one. If you're using just 464, so a softer wax to create those wax melts, then you may want to offer those as a little $5 hot sample as well. Because you're only paying $1 for the wax melter itself. I include 1 tea light and I also include 2 little matches in this nice little cute ribbon. And I will give you a tart. Once you break it down, you're still spending less than $1.60. And people hear $5 and they come running. It's also how I end up getting many of my clients that are my wax melt people. Coconut and paraffin together work really, really well. It's really the smooth in action that you're looking for. If I'm looking for fragrance oil for a 12-ounce jar, most 12-ounce jars will actually only hold about 10 to 10.5 ounces of wax. If you're pouring for just a 12-ounce, it's kind of small. If you're doing the 10% ratio, remember Just like your 12 has an imaginary decimal at the back, you're just going to move it forward one space. So that's almost a pound. So you could do roughly anywhere from 1 to 1.2 ounces of fragrance oil. And that will give you a 10% ratio. 10% for some waxes is high, and you maybe have to back it down. Or for some of you guys, you're going to need a little bit more than just that 10%. Here's the other thing. If you get to the point where you are hitting like 12, 14, 16% fragrance oil, I need you to back off. Guys, the most expensive thing that we actually purchase is fragrance oil. Fragrance oil is gangsta expensive. So when you're thinking about it, I am actually getting, for example, these are the 16-ounce bottles. Some of these are $15. Some of these are $18. Or if you end up getting the special collection, they're all the way up to $22. So you have to be careful with how much fragrance oil you're actually using. Because if you think about it, I'm pouring one candle, but I'm using, you know, a nice little chunk, almost a quarter of my bottle. That's going to turn out to be a lot of fragrance oil. I've also seen people that are using to be very careful, very, very careful about using, for example, a muffin pan. So, number one, think about how much wax and fragrance oil that is. That is tons. It is oodles. The other thing is, most of your clients walk up, they're not even noticing the candle itself. They're just seeing the vessel that it's in. So everything isn't necessarily meant to be a vessel. Remember, you are setting the stage for what your brand looks like. So if I am going to Dollar Tree it up, Dollar Tree has some amazing vessels. They really do. They have some heavy glass that is more than safe. But you need to test everything. If you are using these metal tins, and we have talked about these before, these metal tins heat up, guys. They get hot. I have seen many clients that will burn their candle all the way to the bottom. They're not clipping a wick. They're not dusting off a wood wick. They're not doing any of that. They are super burning all the way through. These will heat up to the point where they will burn through a wood dresser. So they will leave a beautiful scorch mark. I've even seen it where the jar itself catches fire and it causes the varnish on your furniture to peel back. If that peels back all the way, that furniture piece will catch on fire as well. So I want you to always be very, very mindful in the back of your mind that most of your clients are going to burn a candle for as long as they're awake. They're not going to trim wicks. They're not going to do any of that. Let's see. Any other questions over here? Now, here's a problem, or here's something that you guys think is a problem. Most of you, if you're using 464 or any type of soy wax, you may be experiencing frosting. And the only time actually with paraffin wax I run into frosting is when I pour blueberry. Whenever I pour blueberry, it will crystallize completely on top. Frosting is something that bothers the candle maker. If I have a true soy candle burner, they're used to frosting. They just are. If I have a true candle person, I can show you something else that bothers y'all to death. And let me see if I can get it. You see where there's a wet spot right here? You guys allow that wet spot to bother you. That wet spot is nothing that when the candle was going through the cooling process in that area, it pulled away from the glass. Good glass adherence is awesome. Your customers don't care. They're going to pick it up and, oh my God, this smells amazing. And they're done. If you are melting and repouring candles because it didn't adhere to the glass, stop that. Don't do that. Because you're killing time and you're killing materials. You're throwing away an entire wick, and you're also changing the consistency of that wax being bound to that fragrance oil because you're melting and remelting. Stop that. Okay? No. If it really bothers you that you have wet spots, go to a solid container and maybe it will bother you a little less. But do not spend your time repouring because of wet spots. All right, wax melts. Ooh, that's high class, girl. Miss Denise is over here doing wax melts with different shapes to match the scent. Girl, you better get it. Now let me tell y'all about all these shapes. First of all, silicone molds, y'all, are expensive. I don't know. I should probably make my own because you could. But it's a little disrespectful of my time. And sometimes a sister gets tired. My wax melts, honestly, as long as they're triple scented, they're like this. I do make the ones that go in molds. I've done hearts, pineapples, palm trees, strawberries. I'm actually going to be working on a dessert series where I ordered this one not too long ago, and it's actually a 3D shape of blackberries. So that's going to be one of the new ones that I definitely want to play with. You've got to be careful with these because, number one, if you take a look, they are flexible, but they're going to be thin in some areas. When you create a new process, if you're going to do a shaped wax melt for every fragrance that matches the scent, how many scents are you pouring? Because that means that I may have 20 fragrances, 20 different shapes. That's a lot. If it becomes too tedious, you may want to back off. So it depends on how much you're loving it, or are they really going for the shape itself? The other thing you may want to do is see if you can pour in larger amounts. So are you able to actually go through and instead of having a mold that will only accommodate maybe 10 or 12 hearts, can I find one that accommodates 24 to 48 hearts at one time? So size is going to be definitely another one. How are your wax melts releasing from your molds? I've seen a lot of people where they're having, wax that's left over. They can't get it out. It's discoloring the next fragrance that they're putting in. So mold release is one. And also being mindful of your pour temperature is going to do another one. Some people do pour tea lights, which is also another one to kind of deal with. I haven't poured tea lights. I've always been nervous as far as my fragrance content and knowing how to wick those. Too much fragrance oil can definitely catch fire. Trust me, I know. I have probably set about 100 candles on fire. I'm going to let y'all know I'm a bad candle mama. I will burn that candle for 6 hours. I've ordered candles from people in this group and have gone through their candle in probably 3 or 4 days. And I don't mean little candles, y'all. These are 10, 12, 16-ounce candles. So I'm a super burner. I am one of those. I do not only burn 4 hours. And I usually will actually clip my wick. But sometimes that gets a little rough too. If you ever open your candle and you have sweaty spots on top, that's the fragrance oil that is separated from the wax. One or two things has probably happened. Either number one, you added in too much fragrance oil, so the fragrance oil load was off, or it wasn't mixed properly. So just not enough stirring itself. Sometimes we're scared to mix because we don't want to introduce too much air into the wax. But the more you work with your wax, honestly, the better you will normally do. Ms. Tyson, let me know, what am I ordering? As far as where do I order them from? Let me know what the them is, and I will try to answer you as well. All right. When it comes to ordering smaller bottles of fragrance, especially when you're going through trying to pick what you like, here's something else that a lot of people don't say. For example, you can have the 4 ounces. You actually also have the smaller 1 to 2 ounce bottles as well. And this is what you're comparing in size. This is a fragrance I pour all the time. And this is one that I think I'm going to like, but I'm not sure. Number one, pay attention to the difference in color, because we talked about this one as well. They will have different weights and different volumes will be taken up by that particular scent. So if I've never worked with the scent before, I'm going to try to buy a small amount, figure out if I like it or not, and then move up. It's not always the most cost effective because those little bottles can add up really quickly. But what I have learned is I don't want to be stuck with a 16-ounce bottle of something I absolutely cannot stand. And I have bought fragrances by mistake, and I've made that mistake personally. Let's see. You've got to be mindful of airflow. For example, in the room where I pour, I actually have a ceiling fan above me. If I have my tumbler turners going at the same time, then I will have the window cracked and the door open. So there's a lot of circulating air. And I'm doing it more for the epoxy than I am for the fragrances. but I have to be mindful that it doesn't allow my candles to cool too quickly. Also, if you cool too quickly, the other thing that you're going to notice is, for example, this one, and I'll go ahead and trim it for you. I actually had a wandering wick because my wick is running. Y'all see that wick? Baby, center is right here, and that wick is going to town. Don't know where it's going. So I'm going to drag it over and recenter it, number one, because when I come to the bottom, I have enough leeway to do that. But you also see this right here. This is what is lingering under the surface of many of your candles. Sometimes you're lucky enough. This one, it just boom, tunnel right there. So that little sinkhole, I can easily fill in with a heat gun. The ones that I'm usually concerned about are when I have what appears to be a pretty nice smooth top. You light it, it starts burning, and then suddenly it goes out. Or suddenly it tunnels straight down the middle, which means I had that nice little air pocket that popped a little too late and I just didn't see it. Now, some people go in and stir as they go. It kind of depends, but I actually go back and hit the tops of all of my candles. I just want to make sure I get a nice, smooth little carriage. Blueberry will always discolor over time. There are a couple of fragrances, especially in paraffin wax, that will discolor. And sometimes it's based on, I know in my retail location, how close they are to the type of lighting. If you're next to a window and there's UV rays coming through as well. I've noticed that blueberry will lose color. My French vanilla will brown as well. Winter is another one. And let me show you guys what this color would mean. So here's a perfect one. This one normally starts out pretty blue. But over time, notice this. You get this greenish kind of tint to it. And the thing is, at this point, I remove it from my retail area. Now, if it's a favorite fragrance of a family member, then I will often just hand this off to a family member. But the other thing that I will do is melt that candle back down and just re-pour it, which is something else you can most definitely do. You're going to get some discoloration. And you want to start keeping up with how many candles are being re-poured compared to what's actually being sold. Because I have an entire bottom cabinet down here of those candles that I need to relabel. So I've got to make myself literally sit down and have an entire, we're not working today, we're only sitting down, going through and figuring out what needs to be re-poured and what does not. So, girl, those molds are expensive, I'm telling you. If you are launching, because I've seen people launch with a ton of different fragrances. I launched with 5. So I started my line with 5 fragrances and I slowly built up really based on the season and what people were requesting the most. I'm now up to 40 fragrances or honestly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm up to 48 fragrances. So at this point, it's actually time for me to trim down. And what you'll notice is I don't have every fragrance in every location where my candles are located. I'm still working on putting every fragrance on my website. So y'all know I'm transparent. Honestly, girl, I may have 20 fragrances on that good old website, and some of those still don't have pictures. Picture taking can be exhausting. Okay, I said it. I'm not going to say you're going to enjoy it, but it's going to be really important. So I literally will have to pour to a certain point where I can stop, shut down, and take a photo of every single fragrance and size that I have in stock and on hand. It's something you can bring in someone to do if it's something you don't want to do personally. I'm actually trying to train up my employees, my kids, and try to convince them to go ahead and do it for me because I really don't want to. But if not, I will have to bite the bullet and go in and do that for myself. All right, when it comes to triple sitting your wax melts, you know how normally we do one pound of wax and a lot of people will start with 1 ounce of fragrance. If I do 1 pound of wax for wax melts, I will add somewhere between 2.5 to 2.7 ounces of fragrance. So I'm almost at 3 ounces of fragrance for that 1 pound of wax. My wax melts give you a hot throw. They are going to just, like, that's the point. I want it to throw and throw hard. So when they say triple scenting, you're just tripling the amount because there's no wick for you to be concerned about. Don't do that with your candles, okay? Trust me, Y'all know I tried it. But if you're doing it with the candle, the other problem that you're going to have is you're going to clog your wick. And when I talk about wandering wicks, remember I showed you this wick that was wandering. If you move it over, you can go back and smooth that top and it's going to burn straight down. So there's some flexibility to that. There are some of you guys, I'm going to caution you now. Guys, it's May. I'm in Texas. Our hottest month is actually August. But if you are pouring your wax melts with only soy, and you're in the southern states especially, if you were here in Nevada, Arizona, Texas, you know that little Southwest, and we coming on south, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, them Carolinas, they get hot. So if you're doing outdoor markets and you're only using 100% soy for your wax melts, be mindful. Be mindful of where that sunlight is hitting and be mindful of the temperature. You will end up with fully liquid candles. And I have seen some people that end up having to pack up because they were getting liquid candles at that point. And these are nicely sealed, but if ever you get leakage from one, it can become a baby nightmare, especially when you have several candle wax melts that have actually melted on you. Let's see. Now, oh, girl. Now, Miss Paula, you got to break it out with these card diffusers. I've seen some pretty cute and creative vessels for card diffusers as well. Because I kind of stick to the aroma beads only because they allow me to, you know, fragrance my beads. You can fragrance beads like months in advance, y'all. And it allows me just to kind of get creative and wait. But I've been very interested in seeing how you ladies and gentlemen are creating those card diffusers. Even reed diffusers is another one. A lot of people will enjoy those as well. If it's a product that you're not sure if you have a niche for or not, you may want to include it on your website as a custom product. So they're welcome to order it from you. You have no problem in taking care of that order. But that can be really important too. You don't have to make a million of something. You can make one or two, take a picture, post it on your Facebook, post it on your website, and try to lead people there to gain more traffic. Here's another question while I'm talking about websites. How often do you guys go back and look at your analytics for your website? There's going to be a page that shows you how much unique traffic, how many visits overall. For example, Wicks will tell you the average amount each customer is spending, where they are clicking, what items have been clicked, what items have not. You want to pay attention to those because they will also allow you to trim down or expand out on the fragrances and the products that you offer. So anything that I don't want to make in bulk, I will always call a custom product and allow people to order from there. I found that some tea light containers are reusable. There's one that's a mixture. It's not the thin aluminum and it's not the plastic container. And I haven't figured out what that material is. And those are reusable. But most of the time with tea lights, once they burn to the bottom, the majority of your clients are going to just ball them up and just kind of toss them because they're only using them for a temporary purpose. Let's see. Now, here's something else I noticed that a lot of people do. There are a lot of people that put like the little succulents or the embeds on the top of their candles. And I ordered a candle and the embed was actually beautiful. It was absolutely amazing. And the candle burned really well. Now, the second candle that I ordered from another young lady also had embeds on top. But the issue was when she clipped the wick, it was clipped too short. So the wick kept going out as the embed was actually melting. So here's a question. How far up are you guys filling your jars? Because if I'm adding in an embed, I want to be mindful of where that additional wax is going to go. I have a lot of clients that do not place anything under their jars. So they're going to light the jar and just let it roll. But whenever I make, for example, a dessert candle or something that's not going to be just my traditional, I've had to kind of choose where I want the wax to go. Do I want it to kind of fold in to the edges of my jar, or is it okay for it to spill over? And I'm a jar contained kind of girl. You can overheat your wax with a heat gun if you remain in one space for too long. The other thing is you will also burn off the fragrance oil. So what would end up happening, instead of you just going across your top and making it nice and smooth, you stay in that area too long and the fragrance oil will literally burn off. So when you sniff it after it cools, you will smell nothing. Now, if you burn the candle, once it creates an initial melt pool, then the remainder of the fragrance will shine through. But remember, your candles are being unjarred in store and people are waiting to get that whiff. If you're also in a retail situation, don't forget to rotate your product because that front candle has probably been open about 20 to 30 times before someone is making a purchase. Also, the other thing you'll notice if you ever scorch your wax, if you scorch your wax, you will also notice that sometimes you will get a wavy or kind of a crunched kind of appearance. Secrets to best hot throw and cold throw. Oh, girl, don't make me do it. You gonna make me just go and say it. I'm gonna be honest, my best hot throw is with Parasoy. I do pour soy candles. I do use palm feather wax. And palm feather wax I don't like how it looks. I think it's a wax that everybody should play with. It makes really great tarts. I will say that. It makes some, oh my gosh, I have a teddy bear mold. Guys, I have been at fairs where it's been 102 degrees. And when I tell you those little teddy bears did not melt at all, feather palm wax is amazing for hot temperatures. For preserving what you're working on, it's your friend. But when it comes to hot throw and cold throw, it's going to always go back to type of wax and type of wick. If you are not getting the hot throw you want, I would either think about wicking up or changing my type of wick. If you're not getting a cold throw, it may just be you're dealing with a wax you're not happy with. So Ms. Slayton, it's one of those you're going to have to probably play with and let me know what kind of wax you're using. Best place to get good fragrances is close to your house as possible. Guys, shipping costs are like crazy. I use Southwest Candle Supply because they're in Mesquite, Texas. I can pick that up. If you are in Texas, we are a blessed group. There's no other way to say it. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we have 3 nice size distributors between AAA Candle Distributor, Lone Star is another one, and of course, Southwest Candle Supply. There are also ladies within the group that are also suppliers as well. I have tried fragrances, and I actually have a few on hand. Let's see. I got a couple of newer fragrances that I kind of want to play with. You know, it's been a while, y'all. I can't even find them. Candle Science is one. If you have not tried Nature's Garden, let me tell you about Nature's Garden. Girl. It's a couple of young ladies in this group that do Joy Wax. If you ever in your life break down and spend that $119 plus tax plus shipping on Joy Wax, I've done it before. Y'all, Joy Wax is one step from heaven's door. Joy Wax can be amazing if you know how to work it. It is easy to work with. If you've ever tried to cut, notice I said cut, paraffin wax, you got to get in with that knife and work the wrists and arms. Joy Wax is kind of like creamed coconut oil. It's amazing. It's smooth. Nature's Garden has a huge array of fragrances. And most of the ones I've ordered, probably 90%, if not more, have been true to how they were described. So if you've never done Nature's Garden, Candle Science, I would definitely check those out. But if you have a distributor that's close to you, 100% start local and then fan your way out. Beware of Amazon fragrances. Beware of Walmart fragrances. Fragrance, they don't call it fragrance oil. I'm trying to think of what it's called because I see the little bottles. It's almost like the little essential oils that they sell at Walmart. Those are not appropriate for candles, y'all. They catch fire. Trust me. Trust me. I've had a friend do it. Poured a nice 12-ounce candle, let it cure, turned around, lit it, and about 3 minutes later, the entire top of that candle went into flame. So be careful about your oil types. The other thing is, if you are an essential oil lover, essential oils do not give off the strongest fragrance. So if you're pouring because you're making a massage candle, that's one thing. But if you're pouring because you want a relaxing lavender, all-natural scent, be careful about which essential oils you're purchasing because true essential oils are not meant for the candle situation. All right. Hello, Miss Irvin. I like AAA Candle. They tend to keep their jars. Most definitely, they tend to keep their jars in stock. The other thing is they are one of the few that do offer different size amounts of wax. Everybody else will usually do a 10-pound slab as the smallest, but they have some slabs like 4 pounds. I never knew they did 4 pounds. That's a good one that you can buy to really try some good waxes out. The one type of wax I honestly haven't played with just yet would be beeswax. So I have never played with beeswax. I've been thinking about that one as well. I have done the apricot soy. I liked how it felt. I liked the cold throw. I wasn't crazy about my hot throw. So I'm debating on whether I'm going to stick with the paraffin or whether I'm going to go soy with my next brand for the upcoming store. So you guys will probably, if you follow me on YouTube, you're going to see that debate and that question go back and forth. So yeah, just get ready for the ride because I think I'm changing everything. I've already ordered jars from Candle Science that I really like, but I want to see it from there. Bath bombs are a good one. A lot of your fragrance oils you're going to notice are both body safe and candle safe. So that's another good thing. I know Southwest Candle, about 75% of what they sell is both body safe and candle safe. So you can use it in soaps, in bath bombs, and oils, in any of that. And that's pretty helpful as well. Girl, you're going to come on to Texas. You know we're going to drag you out of Texas anyway. We're going to have us a good old time. It's just going to be a necessity. But I think when candle makers get together, it's kind of like tumbler makers, y'all. We can have a party all by ourselves. Like, we get excited over a candle order and a box of wax like no return. And when someone comes in with a new product and I'm like, do you have samples? You know, you can go hook me up with a little 1, 2, 3, 4 pound sample so I can go home and make it happen. So that's going to be a big one for me as well. Matching sets. Missy Lane, I'm feeling you with this bath bombs and lotion that match your candles. I like that one. The other thing is sometimes with your gift boxes, you want to be careful about negative space. So just empty space in general. Have you ever thought about just including, I saw where one young lady did it with a paper flower, but another one, she took a real hydrangea. So she would snip it because all of her boxes would be an overnight shipped. And the flower itself was in the middle, and then all the product was around it. And it was a beautiful presentation. If you're thinking about doing gift sets or boxes, it's all about presentation. Find someone who you absolutely love. If you were a shopper, it catches your attention, and see what you can pull from that as well. The difference between fragrance oil and essential oils. There are very few places that sell 100% true essential oils. And I'm telling you that not as a candle maker, but as a science teacher. When you think about essential oils, guys, you've got to think about what it takes in order to compress the oil. For example, if you're looking at lavender, because lavender is always a big one. You see like the echinacea is another one. In order for you to remove that oil, you're taking those leaves and you are drying and you're pressing them during the drying process because you want to remove as much of that product as possible. That's a lot of lavender. That's a lot of lavender flowers, lavender buds. So you've got to be very selective on what company you are using. The other thing that you will notice is true essential oils will mostly come in the amber colored bottles because they're also UV sensitive. If it's UV sensitive to those rays, you've got to be very mindful at what temperature that different oil starts to break down at as well. Because just like a lot of products, heat is not their friend. So depending on how hot that candle is burning, it may be something that for some is better in a wax melt than in a candle itself. Let's see. You've also got to be skeptical when they are telling you that they won't necessarily tell you what type of wax you're using. For example, there are some candle kits on Amazon that look really good. But I noticed that when you go into the description, they don't take a lot of time to tell you what kind of wax is it. Is it coconut? Is it apricot? Is it paraffin? Is it soy? Like, is it a blend? It just says candle wax. Well, if you fall in love with that candle wax, can you buy it in a larger bulk? Because the answer may be no. So be careful about trying out and falling in love with products that you aren't able to purchase outside of kits. Because if I want to start this as more than just a hobby, you're going to need more than 2, 3, 4 pounds of wax at a time. Also be careful about buying in bulk. A lot of us have gotten really, really nervous. We've had shipping shortages. We're waiting. I see a lot of people that are opting to go overseas for their vessels. Here's a warning on going overseas. Number one, find you a reputable vendor. That's going to be a big one. Number two, take into account the amount of shipping time that it's going to take to get that vessel from whatever country it's coming from to you. Number three, be prepared for damage. It's going to happen. Even when I ordered from Candle Science, they are in the States. Out of my 24, only one was broken. Thought that was pretty good. I had a young lady that actually ordered a case of, or a set of 500. So she ordered what was considered to be a small pallet. Out of those 500 candles, almost 80 of them were broken. And guess what? The vendor she selected does not replace broken items. So I don't know about you, but taking on that much where it's nearly, 20%? That's like 18% of my jars are broken. That's a lot. So that one hits a little hard. Not to mention, it took her 6 weeks to receive the order in the first place. So you got to be careful with that one. Oh, if you have mastered 464, Miss Irvin, girl, you got to share some tips. There are plenty newbies in this group that are struggling. There are some veterans. There are some days when my hot throw is okay and other ones where it's not. And I'm actually better with certain fragrances than others. Honestly, I have some fragrances I do not offer with 464 because personally, I don't get the hot throw that I'm looking for from that particular fragrance. If it's anything vanilla based, I'm pretty, good with it. If it's a lavender, a mahogany teakwood, a sandalwood, if it's any of my heavier bodied or darker colored fragrances, I do well. But if it's a shave and a haircut, for example, that hot throw is not quite there. So it's still going to be a struggle. Do you stop working with it? No. But do I find other products that I can probably use? The answer is definitely yes. Trying to think, guys. Is there anything else? Oh, it's 11:30, y'all. We've been talking a long time over here. So, oh, yes, Miss Elaine. I have ordered overseas, guys, and had my items stuck at customs. I actually ordered so unrelated, but my oldest child ordered a 3D printer. All right, and we ordered from the Czech Republic. That's where he wanted to get it from. Guys, that 3D printer sat in customs for 3.5 weeks. It took them 3 weeks to build it, to even ship it. It sat in customs 3.5 weeks. And then it took another 3 weeks for it to make itself from the coast. I think it came in either through New York or ports in Florida to finally get to Texas. It was the longest wait I've ever seen a preteen try to endure ever. So you've got to be careful. If you have a pop-up shop at the end of the month, you do not have time to order from overseas. If you have an event or a wedding that is in June, no ma'am, do not show that bride anything that you do not currently have in stock. Because that is going to be the one time, if it has never happened to you before, that you will not be able to get your hands on the wax, the wick, or the jars that you were looking for. Be careful about what you post online. If I have changed my jar type, I'm going to change my jar type across the board. Because you're going to get that one client that orders the one thing that you no longer have in stock. And it's also a big one. For me, currently, I only pour on a regular basis 8 ounce, 4 ounce, and then my 3 ounce wax melts. So I do 8 ounce candles, 4 ounce candles, and then the wax melts and tarts. I do offer 12 ounce candles. I will offer 16 ounce for custom orders. But I have found that the larger the candle, the less often I'm going to see my client. Yeah, I said it. If you get them a 12 ounce candle, y'all, I have watched my mom burn a 12 ounce candle that was actually her favorite fragrance. It still took her 3.5 weeks to burn that candle. Not going to work here. But when I gave her an 8 ounce candle of the same fragrance, she burned it twice as quick. And that's what made me trim down from my 16 and 12 ounce candles. The other thing is a lot of people come down to price point. So if I want you to buy a particular size candle, I'm going to uptick the price of the largest candle and then put that middle one where it's like because that's really the one that I want you to buy most often. Missy Lane, I agree with you. A lot of my major sales are coming from my brick and mortar location, and it gives me a little leeway because I'm able to take my website and work on particular pages and parts of it at a time. It's not like you have to take the entire website down and put under construction, because that puts a lot of pressure on you. But I may decide to go in and I'm going to work on all candles, letters A through C. And that's going to be my first focus. So I will go in and redo their pictures, try to update my descriptions. For myself, I had to celebrate just getting the website up. So I know it may not have been impressive to most people, but for me, it was like, I did that finally. So now I'm at the point where I've been going back to YouTube University, kind of looking at a few things. I'm interested in taking a marketing class as well, so I can get some new skills coming in. Don't sleep on education, y'all. Don't sleep on going to a marketing, a social media class. You can go to your local community college. You can find a lot of resources online. But you've got to be educating yourself in different ways for you to attract the people that you're looking for. If you're not, the customer and client is really passing you by. So it is 11:30 and I'm not going to keep you guys all night. If you have not already, go ahead and drop your website or your link in the comment section. I would love to see what you guys are doing. If you have any suggestions for myself, if there are any topics that you would love for me to cover, definitely let me know. If you have not joined BCJ Decor Facebook group, definitely go ahead and join their group. Search me up, send me an invite, and I will bring you guys on in, because there's some content that I will post there that won't be posted in the group itself. Other than that, I'm going to try to hit you with as much content and answer as many questions as I can. When I do my spring market, I also plan, because I think the next market is May 22nd. It's usually on a Saturday. So I definitely want to take the time to kind of show you setup, location, and give you a feel for the vibe. So I plan on breaking in with a live, from time to time on that day as well. So just giving you more of that day-to-day stuff. What happens when things go right and what happens when things don't. Before I go, here's another one. And I want y'all to help me with this. I've noticed that a lot of people will say that they've done a pop-up shop and they completely sold out. I'm not denying it. I've done a lot of pop-up shops. A lot. I have done a lot of vendor markets, farmer markets. I really have. I've done some 2-day fairs as well. And let me just say this one to you. Out of all those markets, there are some people that will leave the market that are sold out, but it's never been a candle maker. Because number one, candle makers show up with about 80 to 100 candles. I've learned not to pack as many as well. So we'll talk about that packaging and how many of something to take. But when I see a table that's filled with 50 candles, dessert candles, molded candles in general, just regular candles, and the first comment that's posted is, I've completely sold out. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? The first thing I'm thinking is, but that inventory though. Because most candle makers are showing up with the business. So don't get caught up on what others are selling. Don't allow yourself to roll in and think that you're not doing enough, because it's not true. All right? Stay true to yourself. Stay true to your business. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.